All of us would like a little extra cash, but only a few are prepared to steal a life to get it. An expensive habit milks a husband dry.
Approximately $1 million had been spent.
A sweet demeanor masks a dark fantasy.
She'd see a horror movie and she'd imagine committing that murder.
And chasing the American dream at a lethal cost.
She worshipped the almighty dollar, and that's why this murder happened.
These deadly women don't know the meaning of giving. They are the takers.
The only thing that really turned her on was gambling and sex. Life as she knew it was about to be over. She panicked. And it wasn't pretty.
In March 2014, in Independence, Missouri, as residents wind down for the weekend, the suburban calm is shattered. 49-year-old Kirsten Stevens is distraught. She's just found her husband Charlie shot dead.
They killed Charlie! There's blood! He's dead!
Come here, please. Kirsten had been gone all day running errands, and she came home and found her husband dead.
It appeared that he was asleep. He still had the covers on his body. It didn't appear that he struggled in bed.
His hand was still clutching the sheet, probably in surprise and in pain.
I knew he'd been robbed, and I went into the bedroom and I turned on the light.
Kirsten is inconsolable. The police baffled.
She thought it must have been a robbery, that the house was burglarized.
What's missing?
I'm sorry, what?
You said you were robbed? Can you tell me what was taken?
My husband! Isn't that enough?
Kirsten's departed husband, 65-year-old Charlie Stevens, was 14 years her senior. They were a love story, starting in the workplace.
Charlie had been married for 40 years, had a very stable relationship with his wife.
Hearing's stability is about to be rocked by a flirtatious new recruit.
Take me out to dinner? Kirsten worked very hard to get Charlie's attention.
Okay.
Okay. Kirsten was successful in turning Charlie's head.
Thank you very much. Take a seat.
Kirsten seems to offer Charlie something he's been missing.
Comfortable?
Yes, very.
The relationship started off with an affair.
What?
I just feel so lucky.
Oh, that's sweet. I feel lucky too.
He met a younger woman. She was 14 years his junior. This was new and exciting to him.
Yes! We won!
And he ended his 40-year relationship with his wife.
It's a sweeping change to Charlie's life. He marries Kirsten and retires, with considerable savings for a comfortable second phase to his life, which suits his new wife perfectly.
Kirsten had a very serious gambling problem.
They would go to the casinos almost every night.
Charlie wouldn't gamble with Kirsten. He just liked to watch her gambling.
This is the lucky one.
This is your lucky piece.
Yes. Okay, watch.
Kirsten's luck isn't paying off. As their wedding anniversaries roll on, so do the losses.
She proceeded to tear through his money.
We found casino records dating back to 2006 up to 2013. where approximately $1 million had been spent.
Kirsten is doing what she loves. But her addiction has everyone else concerned.
Charlie's family did not like her.
Can you afford this, Dad?
Of course I could afford it. I wouldn't have retired if I couldn't.
His children from the first marriage and the other family members who knew Charlie well were really concerned. Kirsten saw his money as her play money, and apparently he couldn't say no.
I had to change the subject.
I'm going to the bar. You want another?
No, I'm fine. Thank you, sweet.
As the years pass, all the money dries up, and Charlie is forced out of retirement into a part-time job.
They were basically flat broke. He was having to work at a hardware store.
Charlie! Oh! Hi, Rob. What the hell are you doing here? I thought you were retired.
Oh, yeah, I have, but I got bored at home. Just keeping busy. Oh, thank you.
Addictions rule people's lives, whether it's smoking or drugs or alcohol or gambling.
Their financial predicament becomes so dire, they can't afford to pay taxes.
They weren't happy. Neighbors would report hearing screaming coming from the home on a regular basis. It was very, very apparent that their main issue was money.
I saw the money you withdrew. We need that to pay our tax debt.
So, do an overtime shift at the hardware store. The only way out of this terrible debt caused by her gambling problems was to sell the house and to use the proceeds of it for back taxes.
Do you want to lose the house?
So we'll move.
At that point, he was pretty much a beaten man.
In Independence, Missouri, the Stevens household is in turmoil thanks to Kirsten's gambling addiction. But when she discovers Charlie's life insurance policy, with her as the beneficiary, Kirsten starts doing some research.
She was looking up how to cut brake lines. Another one was how to kill your spouse.
Really might as well have been how do you kill your husband named Charlie.com.
He's worth more to me dead than alive.
She made the comment to friends that Charlie was worth more to her dead than alive.
By 2014, the house is sold to pay back taxes, and pressure increases when the new owner arrives to take possession.
Hi, I'm Craig.
Hi.
I'm the guy that bought the house.
It all came to a head the day that the new owner showed up,
You do know you have to be out by Friday, right?
saying, "This is my house, you need to get out. I want to..." How was she going to continue her addiction?
My bed?
She was stunned and upset. She knew that her gravy train was coming to an end. Life as she knew it was about to be over. She panicked.
Don't worry about my dad. Once he's down for his nap, nothing will rouse him.
Kirsten told him that was her dad. She thought that she had to do something, and do something quick.
It's really nice to meet you.
There was one last thing Charlie might be able to do for Kirsten, and that was die.
Charlie's life insurance is Kirsten's lifeline.
She was relying on that to continue her gambling lifestyle.
She went and got a .22 caliber rifle, and while Charlie is laying in bed, she shoots him 4 times. She didn't care about Charlie. She took advantage of him. Once his money was gone, she tossed him away just like trash.
She was done with him when his money ran out. She was ready to move on.
Kirsten hides the murder weapon. She sets the scene of a bungled robbery and leaves the house.
And then when she comes home, she acts like she's shocked.
Got herself all revved up and hysterical and ran to the neighbors saying,
They killed Charlie! There's blood! He's dead!
They shot him. They shot him.
But when police arrive, they smell a rat.
There was stuff everywhere, so I knew we had been robbed.
You can tell when somebody's trying a little too hard. That was our first indication that something may not be right.
You said you were robbed? Can you tell me what was taken?
Oh, they took my husband! Isn't that enough?
Kirsten's story just doesn't hold up.
She couldn't identify anything that was really missing.
We started realizing that there weren't really any signs of a robbery. We all started kind of questioning what happened.
More questions arise over Kirsten's whereabouts.
How long were you out? I told you, I was out all day.
She was trying to set up an alibi and just did a very poor job of it.
At the casino.
Police looked at all of the surveillance photos.
We're able to establish that she wasn't where she said she was.
And she found this.
Kirsten stashed the rifle in an access panel of the jacuzzi tub.
It was under the jacuzzi.
Where no one else in the world would put something.
I've never seen that before. Funny. It's got your DNA all over it.
I think that she convinced herself that she was going to get away with killing her husband.
Rather than plead guilty in exchange for a lesser charge, Kirsten rolls the dice one last time and pleads not guilty to first-degree murder.
Kirsten is a gambler, and if there's a chance that she could walk away from this, she would take that chance.
But her numbers don't come up. In 2016, Kirsten Stevens is convicted of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. She is sentenced to life in prison, no chance of parole.
She was someone who really knew what she wanted, and it didn't matter what she had to do to get it.
When you talked to her, you almost didn't feel like you were talking to a person. Nothing seemed to be absorbed.
Charlie gave Kirsten so much, but she gambled it all away until all she had left was her husband's life. Then she spent that too.
Who would ever believe that someone that you marry and think that you're in love with would ever stoop to that level just to kill you for money?
The overriding flaw in her character is an inability to feel empathy for other people. If you don't feel empathy, then you don't feel remorse when you hurt someone.
Nothing brightens a grandparent's day more than seeing their grandchildren.
Hello, Grandpa. What are you doing here?
In August 2016, Brittany Dwyer surprises her grandpa, 81-year-old Robert Whitwell.
She's welcomed in with open arms.
That's lovely to see you.
You too, Grandpa. I haven't seen you in ages.
I know.
Her grandfather was so glad to see her. It had been so long.
Can I get you something to drink?
The tyranny of while 19-year-old Brittany is from the north, in Queensland.
Brittany and her grandfather had a close relationship. Even though they were 1,200 miles apart, they spoke, they interacted, and he doted on her.
And that's you. You know, you're going to be 3 years old.
It's a chance to reminisce.
He was thrilled. His
smiling with lovely Brittany.
You little cutie you were. And you still are.
He was very proud of his family, very, very proud of his grandchildren.
But there is a side to Brittany Robert hasn't yet met. Back in Queensland, she and roommate, 21-year-old Bernadette Burns,
I'm done with this movie.
have a fetish for the dark side.
She developed an interest in horror movies and killing people.
Her and Bernadette form a very close friendship very quickly.
They would sit and watch endless hours of films. Now, a lot of teenagers develop a little bit of an obsession to horror movies, but Brittany took it even further. She'd see a horror movie, and she'd imagine committing that murder.
Watching violence on TV or in a movie over and over and over desensitizes the individual to the violent act.
For Brittany, it's been a trend since childhood.
Brittany! Brittany!
When she was 8 years old, she got mad at her brother.
Brittany!
She picked up a knife in the kitchen and started chasing him through the house.
The knife incident was very telling of something bad going on in Brittany's heart.
Brittany, stop!
Underneath the facade of the sweet, fun-loving little girl was a budding monster.
As a young adult, Brittany takes control of her life and her fantasies.
Well, I like it. No one else likes what I like. She did things like visit graveyards with her friends, which, you wouldn't think a regular teenager would sort of do.
What if we sell your car?
I drive my car.
Not often.
The two women don't have steady jobs, so money is often a problem.
I know where this...
Here's one for my favourite granddaughter.
Brittany's mind runs 1,000 miles away to her doting grandpa in South Australia, who's let slip a secret.
Thanks, Papa. Dad! That's far too generous.
Yeah. What's $600? There's another 100,000 where that came from.
Dad.
Robert had talked about the money that he had there and explained in detail to Brittany's mother where the money was.
It's better off with me, safer with me than any bank.
He didn't trust banks. He kept all of his savings at home, and it amounted to about $110,000.
When Brittany heard her mother talking to Bob about hidden money, an idea was born. Bob didn't trust banks, but he should have trusted his granddaughter.
Brisbane, Australia.
You up for a road trip? I'm in.
Yeah? Brittany Dwyer and her new BFF, Bernadette Burns, are making plans.
Well, they were very close. And you sort of have to have a strong relationship with someone to convince them to drive across the country to commit a robbery against that person's grandfather.
They travel 1,200 miles, and on August 5th, 2016, arrive at Robert Whitwell's Adelaide home.
Okay, you ready?
But Bernadette has a change of heart.
I can't do it, Britt.
We're in this together, whatever it takes, remember?
Yeah, but he's your pop.
We just came all this way for this. You're fine. You stay in the car.
While Bernadette stayed in the car and put on her makeup, Brittany went inside to have crevice with her grandma. What could possibly go wrong?
For Brittany, this is more than a robbery. It's a chance to act out a violent fantasy she's carried since she was a child.
What are you doing here? Come in. Come in.
She was armed. She had the knife with her when she went inside.
I wish we could do this.
Childhood.
Oh, no, there's your mum. And there's you.
Recalling fond memories.
Yeah, I want you to take that one with you.
The trip down memory lane softens Brittany.
She starts having second thoughts. She sends a text to Bernadette. She says, I can't go through with this.
The pair should follow their consciences and leave. But instead, Bernadette doubles down.
Brittany chickened out and told her, I can't go through with it. Bernadette was quite the coach. Get in there and do it.
And thank you for coming to see me, darling.
Brittany's behind her grandfather. She brings out her knife and she stabs him in the neck.
He's surprised. He turns around, puts his hands on her shoulders and said, Why did you do that? And with that, she reaches up with the knife again and buries it deep in his chest. He would have bled rapidly, and since it's so close to the heart, the majority of the blood would have poured into the cavities of the chest.
He stumbles to get a Band-Aid to stop the bleeding. And Brittany, callous young thing that she is, she actually helps him to put the Band-Aid on. Sorry, Grandma.
But that's where her first aid ends. She waits and watches her grandfather bleed to death.
How can you kill your grandfather and be willing to sit there and watch him bleed to death? It was horrific. This is a man who's loved you all your life.
Brittany then texts Bernadette and says, It's done. 2 words, it's done.
They rifle through his belongings and find his wallet, and found $1,000.
The girls have traveled across Australia for much more than that.
They searched the entire house. He had over $110,000 in cash in that house.
But they can't find it.
Hey, where are you? We have to go.
Accomplished killer. But she was a really bad robber. They couldn't even find the money that was hidden in the shed.
Are you sure we shouldn't keep looking? We've looked everywhere. We have to go.
With just $1,000 in their pockets, the girls hit the road. It's days before Robert's body is discovered.
It took 3 days of accumulating newspapers in the drive for neighbors to get alarmed enough to call the police.
The police have no early leads.
He was a good man, and he lived a good life. For Grandpa.
At his funeral, Brittany slips easily into the role of grieving granddaughter.
Poor Papa pours out of Brittany's lips over and over again. She acts like the most distraught person to ever hit the planet.
Poor Grandpa. So I'm guessing those tears on her part were crocodile tears. Look at me, I'm so sad.
The only remorse seems to come from her accomplice, Bernadette.
Bernadette, I said no phone calls.
Who is not coping so well.
Why would you do that?
She was telling her friends, telling her housemates.
Bernadette felt the need to confess to an entire audience by saying, "Story of my life. I didn't want to do it, but I did."
I think she wanted to put it behind her. She knew she'd done the wrong thing.
Crime Stoppers took a call that said, Brittany and Bernadette are responsible for Bob's death.
Looking for a Brittany J. Dwyer?
It was anonymous, but it gave them a place to start.
Their secret soon dissolves away.
In the end, not only did Bernadette confess, but ultimately Brittany confessed to what she had done.
In 2017, Bernadette Burns pleads guilty to murder without intent and receives a minimum of 13 years and 6 months in prison.
Bernadette was not the callous individual that Brittany was. She burst into tears. She said she felt shame.
Brittany Dwyer is convicted of murder. Her sentence, a minimum of 21 years behind bars.
In the courtroom, the judge said she posed clear danger to the public.
But her fresh-faced looks mask a dark soul.
Brittany was able to kill because she had no empathy for her grandfather. No empathy means no problem.
This easy money could only be easy if you're prepared to take a loved one's life.
This murder was motivated by curiosity and a desire for Brittany to see what it was like to kill someone.
Sign here and initial here.
Greed is a monster that frequently consumes the people that harbor it. She's nothing less than a stone-cold psychopath.
An online romance connects two lonely souls on opposite sides of the world. And soon, 34-year-old Joe Myers invites his Filipino bride, 28-year-old Irene, to make a new life in Wayland, New York.
Well, what do you think?
Joe was lonely and looking for female companionship. Irene was poor and desperate and looking for a guy with a wallet.
It's not quite how I imagined.
I know it's not much.
But it's ours.
Irene leaves behind her family and children from a previous relationship.
Come and meet my staff.
She hopes of better things.
You know, you look at Joe, and he's got a pretty ramshackle home and business.
David, I want you to meet my beautiful wife, Irene. Irene, this is my best buddy, Dave.
Joe runs a small garage with just one employee, 51-year-old David Odell.
They were best friends. They grew up together.
He worked 10 to 12 hours a day for Joe Myers, and he became a real asset for them.
He's a hard worker.
I'll show you the office.
And a simple soul. A childhood injury leaves David with permanent brain damage.
Joe was sort of maybe that big brother figure to him, far more than just employer. He was employer, he was friend, he was confidant.
Irene settles in, studying as a nurse's assistant, but she misses her family. She decides they would be better here too, if
she figures, let's come up with some different schemes.
In 2015, Irene and Joe offered to buy David's house and let him live there rent-free. The cash is tempting, but David doesn't know the real estate market.
They signed deeds for what was supposed to be $8,000, about a third of the value of the home. They took it from him.
And things just get worse.
They never made any payments. They were supposed to pay him $1,000 down. That never came.
She never had any intention of paying David any money.
As the new owner, Irene has the right to move in. So she does, to take care of the David.
I think he did intend to take care of him, but not the way that most of us would take care of somebody.
Well, I don't need looking after.
We'll see about that.
She takes charge of his medication.
They took away his seizure medication, I think hoping he would pass away.
Irene, have you seen my pills?
Oh, don't worry about those.
But I might have another seizure.
I'm a nurse, remember? I'll look after you.
The medication that Irene was supposed to be giving David was found in Joe's desk at his house.
As David plays hide and seek for his life-saving medicine, Irene starts drawing up contracts. Insurance contracts.
They got a homeowner's policy on the house because Irene was the owner. And then Irene got a renter's policy on top of that, didn't disclose that she was the owner, and got another $45,000 policy.
Come on, David. Just sign them. I'm running late.
The house isn't the only thing of value to Irene and Joe.
She's able to take out a $40,000 insurance policy on David.
Why do I need life insurance?
Cause you're the most valuable employee that I have.
We figured they would have gotten $173,000 to $175,000.
This calls for celebration. Let's go grab a beer, buddy.
Okay, Joe.
She got insurance on the house. Now she has insurance on David's life. Wonder what she needs to do next.
Dell changes dramatically after his boss, Joe Myers, gets married.
I said that one goes in my bedroom.
His wife, Irene, insists on moving in as his caregiver. And then...
I don't want to be here, Dave. A company check is missing.
Joe confronts David. He has a run-in with him. It's like, David, I know you wrote a check for yourself for $40 from my business.
Oh, I didn't say $40.
I didn't do that, Joe. Come on, we're friends.
I don't deal with thieves.
But I'm not a thief.
Don't ever set foot on my property again.
Joe says, you know what? I don't want you in the shop anymore, and I don't want you in my life anymore. Get out.
Please, Joe. If I can't come over, then I'll have nothing to live for.
After 18 years loyal service, Joe dispatches his old friend.
Joe, please.
And drowns his guilt at a bar.
Whoa there, cowboy. Okay, there you go. Damn, Joe, never seen you this wasted before. I never had to ask my best friend before.
He makes sure he stands out and makes sure everybody thinks he's very tipsy and very drunk.
He looked me in the eye and he said, if I don't have this job, then I got nothing to live for. Poor guy. And I fired him.
If we fired David, he had nothing to live for. Maybe he killed himself.
In truth, Joe isn't that drunk.
Joe.
Because he and his wife have plans that night. Valentine's Day, 2016.
He's asleep.
David's in the house, asleep when they get there.
Good. Still alive.
He has some diesel fuel. Irene pours it around the stove downstairs. He ignites it. Bang!
Joe, come on!
David did not escape the fire, and he was found in a recliner at the house.
David was found melted into that lazy boy chair, burned absolutely to a crisp. They found soot in his trachea, which indicates he was breathing his house in as it burned down around him.
Initially, investigators think they're dealing with a tragic accident.
They determined that it was an accident. It was the coldest night of the year, and that David, who was mentally disabled, possibly did something wrong that resulted in an accidental death.
Oh my God! David!
But then, Irene and Joe make an awkward appearance.
Did you know the fellow that lived here? He was my best friend all my life.
I see. This guy was making a scene and he wanted everybody to know he was crying, but I thought to myself, that seems like fake crying. Like fake emotions. And Irene was cold, stone cold.
Their good planning starts to fray.
So you came here yesterday? Yes. Last time I saw David would have been yesterday. What time? Probably around noon.
When was the last time you saw David?
We saw him late last night.
Joe and Irene couldn't keep their stories straight. They created 2, 3, 4 different stories.
Fortunately, Joe and Irene didn't have the bandwidth between the two of them to pull off a crime like this.
Suspicions are confirmed when investigators discovered Joe's own security system has recorded their preparation.
Joe thought he was going to get away with this stuff and thought that his security cameras overwrote every couple of days.
Hey, that's invasion of privacy to record in our home.
We didn't. You did.
Confronted with the evidence, Irene flips on her husband.
Who hit David with the hammer?
It was Joe.
Irene blamed Joe.
I don't know. Really? Because Irene said it was you.
He tells a family member. She threw me under the bus.
In 2017, Joe Myers is convicted of first-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree arson, and criminal conspiracy. His sentence, 23 years to life.
People have been known to do horrible things with another person that they never would have done on their own. Joe had it in him to commit murder, but it took Irene to get it out.
Irene Myers is found guilty of second-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree arson, insurance fraud, conspiracy, and making a false written statement to police. She, too, is serving 23 years to life.
Irene is the one who pulled all the strings in this, planted all the seeds, and she got Joe to be her co-conspirator in murder.
Irene wanted to live the American dream, and she didn't care who suffered to make that happen.
Irene is nothing less than a stone-cold psychopath. She lacks empathy for other people, therefore has no remorse when she hurts them. Irene worshipped one thing in life, the almighty dollar, and that's why this murder happened.
These deadly women valued money more than life. Kirsten Stevens chose gambling over her husband. Brittany Dwyer sacrificed her loving grandfather. And Irene Myers killed a simple soul for his insurance payouts. All 3 wanted something for nothing, They weren't givers. They were the takers.